From the TBD studios, let's talk live with your hosts, Natasha Barrett and Melanie Hastings.
I wouldn't have to work at all. I'd fool around and have a ball.
How money savvy are you? Do you think you'd have a handle on your cash? Well, if not, you might want to listen up.
Myra Salzer is the founder of the Wealth Conservancy, and she has some things to think about when it comes to your bottom line. Myra, welcome. I love the name of two of the books you've written. The Inheritor's Sherpa, which is a great title for a book, and then your most recent release is Living Richly. And I was thinking about this segment because you give so much advice to people who are inheriting vast sums of wealth. But what are some of the things you teach them that those of us who aren't inheriting vast sums of wealth should also learn to live by?
Good question, huh?
Yeah. Well, the challenges of inheritors are very different than those who are earning and saving. It's a whole different way of looking at money because most people are in this accumulation phase of life and that they're working towards retirement and saving for that, whereas our clients are born retired.
Exactly.
And so their focus has to be on preservation. And so it is really a different way of looking at investments and life.
So we're looking at low risk investments and reinvesting dividends, that kind of thing.
I think your typical view of what is low risk might conventionally be risky because you're typically in bonds, which are low risk, but the risk is really then your purchasing power with other currencies. And so to preserve wealth, you need to do a lot more than just cash and bonds but hedging and being overseas and being in commodities and gold, and so it is a really
And while the rich really are different than you and me, you say, especially in Living Richly, that before we think, oh, I wish I had such problems, that there are some challenges that people who inherit their wealth face, and you give advice on ways that you can live richly and enjoy the wealth that you have. What are some of the tips that you give people?
First, to understand what you have and what you can afford, and to try and make your contribution greater than your reward. And when you're inheriting a lot of money, it can feel kind of yucky because you receive something without doing anything for it. And if that's your experience in life, to be able to shift that and give philanthropically or be of service, to be an advocate for someone, is really an important avenue.
We're talking about millionaire plus people.
But that is something I feel like all of us can take away from your book, because our family lives very much on a budget, and yet I think we as parents always feel like, oh, kids today have it too easy. So if we can take those lessons and apply it even to our own families in terms of, here are some things that can make you feel better about what you have and what you can contribute. I think it's a great lesson.
Absolutely. And so often inheritors have had everything done for them, so they haven't had those learning experiences, the maturation experiences, the confidence builders when you create something out of nothing, or overcome obstacles or make mistakes and still persevere. And I think we've been hearing a lot about helicopter parents, and even without money, if everything's being done for your children, they're not learning those skills that so many inheritors have, this delayed maturity and lack of confidence because of that.
Interesting. What about what people that come to you? Are there certain mistakes that you see investors, I guess inheritors, make over and over again? Or what are some of the tips that you would have for them?
Before they come?
Yeah, as they're coming to you.
Well, there's a disconnect between their self-worth and their net worth because they didn't earn it themselves. And so I think there's a fear of making a mistake, and they can be just paralyzed, frozen, immobilized. And not making decisions is perhaps one of the bigger mistakes I see.
We always hear the phrase rich as a Rockefeller, and yet you look at the Rockefeller family and they're a great example of that. From David Rockefeller to Jay Rockefeller, the senator, they're all involved in their own causes and still seem to work hard to earn that Rockefeller name. So it's an important lesson I do think we can all take away from that. And then just finally too, for children of the wealthy, you say there is an issue of self-worth. What are some other ways that they can improve their self-worth and give back?
Giving back is exactly it. You know, to be able to make a contribution that's greater than your reward, which is completely different from everything they've lived up until that point because they've received something without having done anything. And you know, they'll build self-esteem, and they also build a community because inherited wealth can be really isolating. And so if they are of service, if they are coaching basketball, if they are on the board of a nonprofit, there's an instant community that they can be a part of. And that's really
and
important.
they're engaged.
Too. And they're engaged.
Oh, it's wonderful. Well, it's good tips there. Myra Salzer, she's from the Wealth Conservancy. Let me
there
get that
you go.
right. Wealth Conservancy out of Colorado. Thanks for stopping by today.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Melanie.
it. And Rebecca and I are going to step away right now for a sponsored segment.
But when we come back, find out why some people are saying Charlie Sheen's twin boys could be better off without Sheen and his goddesses, but it's a bit of a dilemma for the courts because are they better off? We'll talk about it.
And if you have something you'd like to say, you can tweet us, send it to Let's Talk Live DC. We'll be right back.